Champion select for the third and possibly last game of the day. I don't want a 3-0, but it might appear here. Dusty versus Bifrost. It's looking grim for Dusty. Same ban supposedly, but if Volley escapes the banning phase, we're both pointing at me. I'm kind of scared.
I mean, it is a different side of the rifts that might allow some different champions through. So that's, you've got different priorities on blue side, right? And I need to see, like, yes, you've got a strong early game, but please, for the love of God, find a way to play these team fights better. Like, draft towards it a bit more.
Ban Nautilus. If you're Dusty here, I think...
Just don't let it, yeah.
I think Nautilus needs to completely get out of the picture here and just transition into something completely different. The fact that actually Dusty is starting with the AD carry bans as well, to me, it gives me like flashbacks to like the
Is this a Caitlyn Lux game?
Maybe you just do, maybe you just do not handshake. You let the Volibear through and you just freaking deal with it, right? Or you even first pick it yourself, because Dusty have already started banning AD carries. I think they also need to get rid of the Nautilus. You need to also get rid of Zeri, because Odi will play the Zeri. He will pick it if you don't ban it. So if the next two bans is Zeri and Nautilus, then you can handshake Caitlyn and Jinx.
Well, the reason we're bringing this up as well is, remember back when X7 beat Bifrost, it was off and off just triple banning OD. Get rid of the Jinx, get rid of the FLs, get rid of the Zeri, switch up what carries are available. And honestly, that's not a bad shout, because for my money, Venz has actually kind of returned back to his earlier weaknesses.
Okay, that's difficult.
The Caitlyn ban is really smart, because you knew the Caitlyn Lux was the... I think that would have been the pivot if they had the option.
No, this is very rough, because both Zeri and Jinx are left available, and then the only S tier AD carries right here, so you have to either ban Volibear here or Nautilus.
Oh, that's got to be a Zeri pick. Okay. That's got to be... Do you Zeri first? Because that is... Zeri is so busted right now.
If you Zeri first, Viking gets to take his Volibear away, right?
And that's point and click into Zeri
as well. Enough, though?
And try to take advantage of the early game. I think Volibear is like a Giga Broken champion. This is why we see it banned the entire time. But then if you're playing like hard engaged, C-Boy's Viego has been banned every single game so far. They take it away. They're like, guys, remember, when Dusty was on blue side, they had to ban the Zeri themselves. Venza does not want to play the champion. So this is...
Okay, he's going to try it.
This is like the most clever thing that they can do. They take the Volibear away. They're like, we know you don't necessarily want to play the Zeri, so even if you peek it, we're fine with it. They can send a Tam Kent.
They can send a Tam. And like, you've got the thing with Zeri is really good if she can be uncontested in the laning phase and isn't into loads of like point and click CC. So things like Veigar make her life absolute hell, because then your mobility means so much less. So I think the problem with like early picking Zeri is you can draft towards it, but it does warp the draft.
Nasus Senna, do it.
It would be hilariously good fun, and honestly, Wither into Zeri is actually really nasty.
Zeri doesn't do anything versus Nasus.
It's not fun. So I think the Senna is a really smart pick. Honestly, I don't even hate the Nasus here, so definitely think about it.
Okay, so this is something that has been talked a lot, and we'll talk about it a little bit more extensively, I'm assuming, on cast as well.
It's just the hot
so I'm thinking at this point it's going to be either Nasus or Tam Kent locked into the bot lane. I think dual Tam Kent is the best thing that I have witnessed in a while. Cho'Gath can work as well. But this can also be flexed into another lane, right? It could be Shikari taking the Cho'Gath up in the top lane, and then you're leaving your possibilities open. But think of the Nasus and think of the Tam Kent, because they could be coming through later on.
So part of the reason why you can often draft a Cho'Gath into something like Zeri as well is the Feral Scream, the silence, stops Zeri's Q. So she can't auto and she can't run away. The Lightning Dash, Lightning Surge, sorry, there we go, is not available to her. And then you can flash Feast, and it doesn't matter how quick you are, you just get one shot. And especially if you do get to farm here as with your other Senna, it's not a bad option, especially if you're locking in even more CC like something like the Volibear, because if both of you flash on Zeri and you both press R at the same time, she does just disappear.
But now you're giving away Dusty the possibility to just hard engage. You have the Jarvan, you have the Nautilus as well. Zeri will be running non-stop unless she gets silenced. Veigar is removed. Do they have enough CC to deal with this?
I just love the different speed in both drafts right here, because I'm seeing a Bifrost that are playing pretty much the bread and butter, right? They've got the Senna down the bot lane. They have the Cho'Gath, which they can put onto the top side of the map as well. You're having Volibear, which in my opinion is one of the best junglers in the current meta, which is why he's banned all this time. And on the other side for Dusty, you've got engage, 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 engage. You've got the Jarvan, you've got the Nautilus, you've got the Zeri. I'm thinking right here, if you want to, you can go towards something like the Galio to complement the Jarvan and locking down the, three immobile characters. So for like two, like the Senna and the Cho'Gath, you just both lock them in, and then you CC them to death.
I don't even hate something like an Orianna here. Honestly, if you want to go for the full team fight wombo and something to help shield up your Zeri, it wouldn't be the worst thing here, but I mean, it does leave Fury open to a counter pick, so I'll see what they want to do. One of the solo laners is going to have to blind pick now, unless
I'm scared for the Orianna versus Akali matchup.
I know, exactly.
That
would be my worry. Honestly, I think the Ahri is safer. It makes a lot more sense in terms of it's more pick, and you can add it into the team fight CC you find him. It's less gank CC, it's more team fight CC. I think that's a needed adaptation for Dusty, where they've been struggling a little bit in the mid game.
I like Ahri right here because it's like Zeri really likes to push forward, but she also really likes to peel backwards, and I think Ahri can match her on that movement, same as Javan. So I feel like Dusty have created a pretty good composition for themselves. If they want to rush forward, they can. If they want to peel backwards, they can. And I feel like at this point, the more melees you have in your team for Bifrost, the better. Senna really thrives in having a bunch of melees in her team. She's the AD Seraphine. She creates so much room and space. And what do they want to play here? Because you can also go Akali here.
Yeah, honestly, look straight out. This is kind of an exhibit A of the anti-Zeri draft. You have got so many ways to lock her in a cage. You literally Hextech ultimatum her, or you flash silencer. You've got lots there. Silence here with a lot of good ultimates. Depth charge into Zeri, which is stolen with AP behind it. I really like that. Also good into the Ahri.
Versus the Ahri as well, yeah.
I think the most important thing is not even that. We have been criticizing of how Fury plays the game, and the fact that he's one of his two champions that he really wants to play, either the Sylas or the Akali. I think it gives him a lot of confidence to go forward and play the game, right? So now he's gotten another ultimate that he can use to take someone out of the fight.
Okay, so don't get me wrong, Dusty, it's more of a team fight comp. They've got Venza on this area where he can try and pop off. That's all well and good. And in isolation, not a bad draft. The problem is when you look up against Bifrost, I really like how Bifrost have drafted to answer that big carry in this area, and honestly, the Ahri as well. A lot of those champion skill and, like, power is in the mobility, right? And there are so many ways to make that mobility impossible to do around team fights.
Tell me, who's going to win this one then?
Bifrost.
It's a 3-0 for you, okay. I know you see the future. I don't know what's happening, what buff you got, but what is the future on this one? 3-0, the curse is broken? The curse is broken. Well, let's see what happens. Bifrost takes this one day, gets himself secured for the EU Masters versus X7 on finals to fight off versus the NLC Spring Split. On the other side, Dusty needs to gain momentum. It's now or never. It's for the casters, Viper and Chimera.
So, start of the day, Trouble did their thing where they film a lot of TikToks. And they, you know that I had like my Death Note notebook and stuff. Well, they used that to say some things about certain LFL teams, and you know, we know how that goes. But I didn't realize that, so I have a second edition of it now called the Magi Soul Stealer. It's my personalized version. I opened up my notebook today, completely blank notebook, and it did just say Dusty in there. So I don't know if someone's stolen it. I don't know who's done that, but Trouble, I'm watching you.
Don't worry. The reverse sweep angle is on because I refuse to live in a world where you could fit all the playoff casts I've had. Oh,
what the heck? What? What? Soft touch, my dark liege. What's happening, buddy?
See, this is where we differ because it's Michael. It is Michael. No. It'll always be Michael.
Have you ever seen a regular duck make that a variety of noises?
I mean, I've never seen a duck.
Have you ever heard a duck scream in abject terror like that before? Truly, it is an elder being.
Well, no, but would an elder being be that scared?
Well, obviously that raises the greater question of, you know, what's it scared of? And then you think, oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
We don't have a duck champion.
Not yet. That can change.
Skarner rework's going to be crazy. Just listen up. But we are on to the rift for our third game of the day. Could be our final game of the day, potentially, if Bifrost win it. 2-0 up in this series, knocking at EU Masters' door. For Dusty, they're a little bit further behind. They're like, no, guys, wait. Stop. That's our door.
They would love to keep a foot in it and keep themselves in the question.
Very long legs. Like you. Your legs, you are uncomfortably tall.
I am actually mostly legs. They are, yeah, that's me.
And not all his.
Crazy. I grew them myself. Did you know that? But either way, Bifrost, You've completely derailed my train of thought here.
League of Legends,
I thought we had an agreement here. But I think that, you know, you look at Dusty and you think, okay, they have to win this game to stay alive. There is a mentality thing about that. But looking at the sheer analytical side of things, I mean, I look at this and I say, look, I mean, these are two very low-range compositions. And they have lots of champions that want to really brawl it out. But when you have such low compositions with a Set, a Sylas, a Cho'Gath, pretty much everyone on the Rift, you sat there like, wow, this is going to be absolutely bloodbath territory. And the problem I feel here for Dusty is that while they have a lot of champions which are still fine in low range, they can just get brawled.
Odie in trouble, has to flash, has to heal. The Ignite burnt in as Duel moving forward. And you know, I like this adaptation a lot, to be fair, from the bot lane. Duel last game got caught out a lot, and he's like, okay, catch out Cho'Gath, I dare you.
And that's the thing, like, you're diving into a Cho'Gath, you get hit by one Q in one fight, suddenly that's everyone piling onto you. You know, that Q has such high value in this game. And as Sam was mentioning on the desk as well, actually, the whole desk was mentioning in terms of, there are a lot of Zeri lockdown/counter champions as well. You have the Camille to lock him in place, Feral Scream to stop him from pressing Q. That's actually an interaction I hadn't thought about before, and then I realized it had been picked a couple of times into it. I was like, wait, that actually makes perfect sense. Why didn't I see that before? But of course, that's later on into the game. Early game,
before.
Things happen.
Viking just going to go for the fight, but Seaboy gets the stun, the shield, and moves away. Actually got the buff as well. So Viking, for the first time, doesn't make this early invade work, but isn't done yet. Looking towards Shikari on the top side. Old Reliable. Teleport coming on through for the assist, though, as Backlund should be able to get something. Doesn't manage to get first blood, though, as Aleph running, retreating, as Fury arrives, gets chains in, looking for the fight potentially, but needs to be careful. It's 3v1, but the health bars are low. Shikari dives back on through, but a flash from Backlund and a charm gets first blood as Seaboy moving through. He's got a health bar and double buffs and is looking to grab someone. Aleph needs to be careful, flashing away, but not going to be able to do so for Viking, as Aleph also caught up. Big shield, but will it be enough? I don't know. The explosion in the charm lands Backlund on the back end of the fight, secures a second. For those of you playing Double Buff Watch, it's on Ari now.
I very much approve, because this is the kind of fights that we're going to see pretty much the whole game. Low range, lots of CC, lots of chance to burst out.
Venza needs to be careful though on the backside, getting caught out. Duel putting some damage in, but has the backaways. FGG putting the anchor down, not able to secure the kill.
Exactly, every single lane has mechanics to fight. Dusty, you go for an early dive, they pull back with that face breaker, chain everything into it, but Shikari still manages to slip out of the CC chain and come back. Now, speaking of chains, maybe didn't want to take that one in, but still chunks out everyone. Slick flash away from the Ahri. Means that the microplay goes the way of Dusty, and honestly, most of this feels like just microplay after microplay. It's like, oh, that skill shot just about hit. Oh, look, there's actually an electrocute still back up on the table. That's what finishes off Seaboy at the end of this. Obviously, just before that, the Set dies to just the last little bit of damage too. And again, both these teams coming in willing to brawl. Dusty down 2-0 though, and it feels like one of these fights goes badly enough and you lose all of these micro-mechanical flips, that could just be you dumped out of the NLC playoffs, dumped out of EU Masters contention, and Bifrost go happily onto the finals.
Ooh, that's a very nice anchor, but FGG, that's not really a 1v1 you win, so just wasting a little bit of time and sending Duel packing. Backlund needs to be careful, moves up towards Viking, who's shadowing him out of vision. Seaboy gonna dive on through and just gonna grab the Rift Scuttle. Viking actually could contest this. Backlund is there with the double buff still, should be mentioned, but I think this one will be secured, but it's gonna be the chase coming on through. No level 6 from Backlund yet, so can't glide on in. And it's just going to be a small dissipation.
I was using the W movement speed to maybe follow up on the Jarvan. Of course, Ahri Jarvan, one of my favorite combos for the champion, because you dive forward as the Jarvan, and Ahri's one of the few mid laners which has the range to follow up at that point, particularly with the resets you have on your ultimate. Also gives you a way out of that fight too, or to continue the fight. So I like what Dusty have in terms of getting onto a target and bursting them out. The problem is, you have to go through this no man's land, this minefield of Cho'Gath Qs, of Senna Ws, everything flying out to make it to the other side. They're going into a battlefield of their own under the top lane turret yet again. It's the same three again.
It's 3v2. This time around is the Volley Bear that gets taken out, dunked down and secured. It's Backlund going back for Shikari. It's round 2. It's seconds. You know what? We're just going to call it dessert. It's taking a little bit of a while to come out the kitchen, but there they're going to pull the trigger. The knock up the damage is good. Shikari actually surviving for a significant amount of time, but Aleph, nice damage movement. And Dusty take 2.
And this time, no teleport to respond from the Sylas. Now, Sylas is a great champion to respond to these kind of plays, but you've used that shot in the chamber. That's gone. You don't have any ammunition left on that. And This is so much chain CC. Now, I wouldn't have pinned this as just, let's dive top kind of composition, but Dusty, they understand what the pieces they have in play, and oh look, we're fighting top again.
Yeah, it's a dunk down. The Silas is here now. Aleph, this time around, able to stride out.
Yes, and Showstopper stolen by Furion. So just Fury has the ability to impact these fights and is very strong in the early stages of the games when they are low-range, brawly compositions. Turns out that play a little too late to be affected by anyone else. Fight under bot lane turret.
Getting some CC down onto Duel. Venza moving forward and getting some as well. C-Boy is around though, so it will be a 3v2 if the extension is over-aggressive. And for this time around, Dusty do not bite.
No, not right now, but what you need to stop worrying about now, or rather what Bifrost have to play around, they're going to have a center role very, very soon. And as much as this early game has, once again, kills being going in the favor of Dusty, much like game 1, that was where this happened. We saw how Bifrost have come back from that early game, came back from a mid-game deficit versus Dusty in the next game. And this one, they have the tools once again to play very reactively in a positive manner for their team in just a level's time when they have some of their globals starting to come online and the next round of teleports coming on the table. So Bifrost coming into a point where they can start throwing back some good punches.
So let's just take stock of where we are just before the Rift Herald comes up, because of course that's going to be the next ground for contention. This game has been so much faster than game number 2. Of course, game number 1 was also pretty speedy, but that was only in the first couple of moments. This time around, both teams have been fighting, both teams have been scrapping, and there's no clear priority, it must be said, on that top side of the map, because the FGG moving up, trying to give Dusty the man advantage. But it could be anyone's game.
Absolutely could be. And again, just to stress how important this game is, of course, Bifrost win, they're at EU Masters. And then we have to start asking questions about, you know, what do we think about this team going to that level? They have kind of put Dusty just kind of to bed in this one, just they have done, Dusty had done with their previous teams.
Yeah.
And even though Bifrost came into this game after a loss of their previous series, got to remember that was against X7. This team with so many stacked members, and the winner of this obviously going on to face them in the finals. So I have to see really if this is the benchmark for how well they're going to do later on into not just the NLC, but also into the level above too.
Viking able to secure himself the Rift Herald. Now the question is, can Bifrost get anything on the bot side in retaliation? There's 2 tower plates already gone. Looking for FGG with the chain, will be able to land it. And a knock up as well, but the Rupture's not going to be able to do too much work, as it looks like Dusty are going to survive this time around. And it's Viking goes in, grabs himself a blue buff, could look towards the top side. Is there somewhere specifically you'd like to see this Jarvan drop this Herald Eye this game?
I mean, it's like, do you want to see me dive top lane? Do you want to see me do it again? They could just hammer down at that point. Of course, again, need to be worried about the center ult, need to be worried about the Silas TP. That's off cooldown. But you do have the Herald still. You have the Herald, and you can threaten that on the back of any winning play. So we'll be tracking that, see if Dusty can use that to increase their gold advantage. They're actually going towards the source of the global right now, potentially going towards Silas.
Yeah, gonna just get one auto, just slap him on the way out, but not gonna be able to secure any CC or any real damage, as they could look to move down towards this dragon. Again, it's been a slower take. The first game we had dragons flying out of the window, but this time around, the first one has just taken flight.
They do have wings, they can do that. Yeah, I hear that's actually an ability they have.
Well, if they don't have wings, then they're just a large lizard.
Okay, well that's not necessarily true, because there are different depictions of dragons which will fly without wings.
Yeah, but this one, these ones.
These ones, particular ones. I mean, I know the difference between a drake and a wyvern, because wyverns don't have arms.
They don't?
They don't have arms. And turns out Fury has hands, as he's really trading heavily there, stealing away the Spirit Rushes back on the
Well, coming into the back, though. Venza's in a lot of trouble, rooted up, and then the volley bear's going to follow through with his own CC. Venza looking for the damage, will be able to get the trade, flashing forward and taking down Odie, but does lose his life.
And, I mean, Duel didn't have the ult on the Cho'Gath at that point, so you couldn't get the stack onto the champion, but didn't need it. Damage was there, but you're right. Senna does fall at the end of it, 1-for-1. Feeling like a bit of a opportunistic trade there from Dusty. I felt like they should have just lost their AD carry straight up either way. Both AD carries going down, and how did this one happen? It's staying in the brush, Bifrost kind of baiting them in, and there was a well, actually, I was about to say, was that a cleanse? No, of course, no cleanse actually there on Zeri, just to get confused with the particles, the ultimate, but C-Boy coming down, and last minute flash, last second flash, saves them from it being a straight one.
Looking for Backlund, who has to flash away, but the ultimate's been stolen. The tower's turned off. Vikings there, though. What can he do? Trying to get some damage down. Looking for the CC. Won't be able to find too much as the flash away, but there's the characters and catching out C-Boy. Again, it's a 1-for-1 for now, but Duel moving forward has Devour trying to get on top of Jarvan. 4 will be able to do so, but not near damage to get the executed. Viking trying to get away, will get away this time around, but he's on the wrong side of the rift. FGG survives under tower as well, so it would just be a 1-for-1.
Oh! How does he has the empowered recall? Gets out without even anyone closing down his position. And that's going to be, what, just one kill onto the Ahri under the turret and then walking away from that fight. This is, again, following on the trend of, hey, don't both these teams have a lot of ways to fight in the early game? And we can see that again and again. Bifrost actually using their chance to tower dive at that point. It has been Dusty doing that towards the top side, but Volibear's ultimate makes it so much easier to pull off those kind of plays. When you get around to this kind of mark in the game, when you have a lot of damage to follow up on it as well. And Dusty kind of losing out a little bit on that side, but not as badly as they could have done. Again, that's kind of like the last couple of plays have been along those lines. Backlund
in retreat, FGG is there, Viking is there as well. C-Boy might overextend, going to be caught out by the Everfrost, and now it's 3v2. The charm onto Silas. A lot of damage goes onto him as well. He can't find a way out, and Backlund picks up the pick, and this time they get one.
Yeah, I mean, that's overplaying their hand from Bifrost, and that's something that we were seeing a bit from Dusty in the previous games. Bifrost going a little too far. While this is happening, though, more plates going down bot side, more pressure going towards the 2v2 of the center Cho'Gath, but that is going to be returned in kind by Dusty, dumping the Herald, which they had claimed earlier. Viking on a bit of a warpath, ends up bot side.
Yeah, now this could be a bad fight. He's silenced, he's devoured, he's taken out as Duel moving forward, gets the rupture, but it doesn't land onto Venza this time around. FGG will keep him in place so they can secure another kill. Odie goes invisible as FGG and Venza make their way out. C-Boy is following. Ultimate is available very, very soon on the volley there, so could look for a quick dive.
Well, what they could do is just use that as threats and say, you can't stand under turret, so that's going to go down. Of course, first turret taken by Dusty in the mid lane, and as much as Silas is very happy brawling around early, leaving lanes, once you lose that mid lane out of turret, it becomes a little harder for you to really be a control tower on the map. And luckily for them, with them taking the bot lane out of turret to their own favor, maybe they can shift the center Cho'Gath to cover that lane, because losing that mid lane out of turret was very, very poor for them. But see how much damage Cho'Gath has. Does quite a lot. E, with the amount of base damage it has, chunks out enemy Jarvan and gets a well-earned kill for the side of Bifrost.
And Bifrost now looking towards this Dragon. First one of the game. Remember, neither team has been particularly interested in this Ocean Dragon. As Viking move forward, catches out C-Boy in the Cataclysm, forcing his ultimate to be used in response. And now the Dragon's going to be taken up by Dusty. This one should be secured quite easily. 14 minutes almost on the dot are going to secure the first one of the game. And it's going to be a mountain for our second, so we might be getting something a bit more active as our soul.
I mean, if it ends up being something like the Hex Tech, which is largely argued to be the strongest soul in the game right now, I think you'd very much favoring that on the side of Dusty, and they have themselves. Again, this is the latest first Dragon. Dusty having themselves both of the neutrals taken in this game so far. Of course, in the first game, they didn't get any, basically, for the early game. They gave up that early soul, gave up the first Herald, and they really struggled to get themselves on the board with that. So, Dusty, after all said and done, heading gold, just by 1,000, heading kills, and they're, of course, still keeping even in structures with that mid lane out of turret going down, which of course we already harped on about how important that is. Question is again, what do you do at this next phase of the game right now? Because that's kind of, you've used a lot of your early brawling to get those advantages. What can you do next to seamlessly kind of keep on building this advantage? Because they've struggled to do that in this series so far, and they couldn't close out when they had the big advantage the last time. So what's your game plan from here on out? We know that you can still brawl about. You're going to have teleports to worry about again. The center, of course, means that maybe you have to be a bit more tempered with the way that you're going about your aggression. But with your Jarvan and your Ahri getting quite far ahead with a lot of target accessibility for it, that's where I'm looking for them to kind of put them on the map and say, let's catch someone out.
And I mean, grabbing that second Rift Herald is going to give them the opportunity to use the battering ram to try and open up the map just a little bit, because the more open the map is, the more opportunity you have to take those fights, to catch people out, because you've only got half the map to work with right now. You take down the outer towers, top or bot, suddenly an area is much, much easier. And when you've got Baron coming up onto the menu in less than 5 minutes time, there's another Cataclysm being thrown down onto C-Boy. Venza's there as well. FGG moving through. It's going to be a really big team fight as the depth charge is blown. Venza's called out and removed. It's Duel showering down, but now Alif is up a creek and hasn't got any paddles to find his way out. The damage is there. The shield's fine, but he won't be able to get anyone as he's taken down by Odie.
Can't cancel them anymore, and Venza once again just in an awkward position, and just because you can hop over fights right into the thick of the fight does not mean you always should. And this one, trying to close down the jungler, turn around that fight, and can't roll on to something else, but Venza goes in far too greedily and far too deep, and Bifrost eat that fight up so easily, even though, again, we knew that Dusty were trying to look to, again, roll over their advantage, but Venza gets right in the thick of things, and maybe just doesn't respect the fact that Shikari can be roaming so quickly to the play, and both him and Aleph paid the price for it.
And the problem is now, you had a Dusty who were talking about, hey, has started to build a little bit of momentum in this game. Things look okay. Losing two members has thrown things back dead even. You look at the momentum graph, it's shifted back to being right down the middle in terms of who our analysts think will be taking this game and who's in control right now. Where's the next flashpoint? Where are we needing to keep our eyes in the next few minutes?
Okay, so there's obviously not an obvious one besides the Dragon Spawn sensitive objectives. I think really you're looking to see what Dusty will do about the center Cho'Gath who continue to push, because this is what happens when they get to have free reign.
It's very dead Venza.
There you go. I mean, Venza once again stuck alone farming and being very, very exploited for it. Game 1, much similar on the Zeri. This game, not the Jinx, but still getting really punished for just trying to get XP and farm, and Dusty not able to shield their AD carry to the point where he can really get resources enough to become a threat in this game.
And I mean, for Bifrost, you're looking at the performance they put in this time around. We haven't seen a perfect performance from them this game so far. Viking and the Dusty crew have still been able to exploit a couple of weaknesses in the early stages. However, you've got to say they've been playing this one out exceptionally well disciplined, and yes, they're going to be looking down the eye of another Herald in the top side, but Duel's moving forward. This will be a 3v2 if they take the fight. I don't know if they're going to want to. No teleport coming on through. The Cho'Gath is a little bit overextended. Damage coming down. Backlund trying to dive on through. Gets the depth charge as well, but Odie on the side is putting in a little bit of work in terms of trying just to dissuade. Can't get the damage, and they will lose the Cho'Gath as Dusty get a pick.
So Dusty, they get vision control in top side. They're pushing towards that turret. And yes, Duel turns up, but Dusty have the teleport themselves to respond at this point. Top lane in a turret, very low HP, and Shikari sat there trying to defend it, has to call up resources, and Bifrost weren't particularly ready to play, but it's Venza once again being aggressed onto. Not quite caught out this time though, but it's very close to it.
I mean, yes, some support collapsing through. Viking FGG chasing Bifrost down the map, and it's going to be a 4v3 if they pick this one up, but Death Charge has been secured by Silas, which could be a very potent tool. Double teleport coming on through. Who are they looking for? They're going to grab FGG. It's a free kill. The Depth Charge is still in pocket as the ultimatum comes down onto Viking. He puts the Cataclysm in, tries for the duel, and will dive away, but it's going to be knocked up and removed by Bifrost. There's another clean fight as they grab two and move towards the spawning Drake.
It is, and again, after we were saying, like, you know, what did Dusty do in this next phase of the game? They got vision control, they went towards top, but immediately, once again, they get overbowled and they get punished. W lands and flash ult forced away out of Odie, just finding a very opportunistic pick there. And once again, after just a couple of minutes of play, Dusty have a lead and it just melts away into the ether.
And we've seen this one before.
We have. We've seen this multiple times. First game, it was much earlier in. Second game, really felt like Dusty were in control of the game right up until that final fight, and then the Nexus ended up falling. And then this one, this is a continuation of a series of plays where Bifrost have just kind of taken the fight that's thrown to them. It hasn't been particularly involved from Bifrost. I mean, they have had the double teleport in, but it feels like they've just been exploiting Dusty's mistakes rather than them necessarily just wrenching the game out of their hands. And Bifrost is still very happy with that, you know, to show that they have the game awareness, rather, to exploit those flaws when they show themselves. But Dusty got to really be kicking themselves, because this has not been a clean series from them, anything but it. Whereas, and now they're staring down, potentially barreling out very, very early into the series 3-0.
Yeah, of course, they made a very, very deep run into playoffs themselves, but
they're such an exciting team when they're on their run too.
Absolutely. The problem being, they maybe have come up against a wall that might be a little bit too high. Backlund diving away, but Dusty going to catch him in the ultimatum. It's Bifrost with another pickup. And this time around, the kill goes over to Shikari.
And there is no one on the same side of the map from Dusty to protect that. So Bifrost, they spot that out, they count all the members on the rest of the map and say, sweet, this is a free play, and now you're going to be able to open up the map to your favor a little bit as well, take down that top lane outer turret, take out that last of the outer ring, and Bifrost very comfortably finding themselves in quite an okay... I mean, again, the gold is fairly even, but considering where it was and the way that they're playing out these fights, they're very happy with the last five minutes of this game or so, and they're in a very comfortable position now to play out their lane allocations and how they're pushing in the map. Because, I mean, while Venza has been the one that's really been struggling to clear waves, you look at this, Odie on the center, cannot nearly say the same. Odie and Duel very, very content with how this game's playing out.
I've got to agree with you.
I know it hurts you to say that.
Primarily because, you know, that's the dynamic we have to have as casters. If I disagree, it can get a little bit adversarial.
Yeah. Like, wow, Screw you, Viper.
You're the worst. Zodi picks up another little stun onto Viking, who's overextended, but does manage to get away. Venza might not be able to say the same. He's stunned, though, but there's support from FGG. Backlund comes in the other side, and it's a volley bear sandwich, really, as he gets taken down, and now Bifrost needs to retreat. Odie needs to be careful, flashing over the wall, but still taken out by Backlund, and just like that, Dusty get the dock pile and take the fight.
But Silas just doesn't teleport in up until the fight's already over. You gotta feel that Fury could have made it much, much sooner to that fight, but with that fight taken by the side of Dusty, they take down the jungler, they take down the bot lane, which we were saying was so hard to uproot. They go on towards that Baron. They're gonna take it down without contest, and as much as Fury's gone back towards that bot lane, there's gonna be a response teleport, and Dusty, just as we were kind of oh my god. ALF, what are you doing there, buddy?
That is a Baron power play. Not what Dusty gonna get off the next 5 minutes, but play of the game coming through. We're gonna get a replay of the fight there. You're gonna need to get your head out of your hands because you need to talk us through this.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, this is what happens beforehand because, I mean, you look at bot lane, you see the Silas sat on the bot side of the map, you're like, wow, maybe he can teleport in, but that's 1 kill down. And you see Elf on the side, he still has his ultimate available, and suddenly you're sat here like, yeah, if Silas is going to commit to this fight, it needs to be much, much earlier. At this point, this tile was completely redundant, but this is kind of what we were saying very start of the game, saying, yeah, both these teams, very low range, very happy to burst people out and just brawl.
No, there's no need.
They turned away.
Oh, there's no fight back. The Lord, it was saving us as FGG going in, looking for a target. Doesn't manage to find one, but goes very low. Has to go gone in the characters, and Volibear dives out. But this could be disastrous for Dusty. They're losing 2. They might lose more as Backlund in the back of the pit. Viking there as well. Fury goes golden, but Venza's putting out a good chunk of damage. Going to be able to catch on to Fury. Gets the kill before Backlund falls. And Dusty, they turn it around.
Turn it around. Now they've had a couple of fights back to back where they're feeling pretty okay about things. Backlund was just scouting through the enemy jungle with one last charge, the ultimate, ready to jump forward, or jump backwards as the case may be. But Dusty, it's not around a dragon, it's just randomly in the bottom side of the map, and they end up taking that fight, and they're going to roll through the Baron buff now, a couple of these structures, get some more gold into pocket, and build themselves back up again a lead. So we didn't see the start of this fight, obviously. This was a Hextech portal into a bit of a dangerous scenario, and as much as you steal that Nautilus ultimate, Fury's been out of position to really burst someone out. Venza so happy in this fight for what feels like the first time this game. Actually, the Zeri gets to do relevant damage without having to be shut out of it far too early. And then, yeah, I mean, first couple of targets go down. Not really able to give a platform to Senna to deal out the same kind of hurt, and Dusty roll over the fight.
And now it's Bifrost moving forward, looking to get onto Aleph. We'll be able to find him, gets knocked up, taken low. Shield is big. Can he get away from the fight? He's moving backwards as members try and get on top of him. Fury gets the kill in the end, though. Venza is still free firing. He's found Cho'Gath, who's just a big damage sponge, though, as Seaboy gets the stun. There's the rupture. The charm comes through. Venza over the wall gets the snipe, but needs to be careful because Volibear follows up, goes down. Shikari dives forward. Venza with the ultimate, but calling the ultimatum. Fury will chain him up as FGG, running the wrong way out of this fight, will be chowed down on.
Okay, well, just as Dusty chain together some fights, they throw it at the most important one, which is actually around the objective. Now, Dusty still had the rest of their Baron to play that out. They choose to commit to that fight, saying, hey, maybe we can roll 3 together. Maybe that would work out. Maybe Venza can start putting out the right kind of damage again, but have to see, of course, how this one comes out. This time it's Bifrost who managed to control the zone effectively. They still have the Hextech map to play around, and this time the Silas's attempt goes much, much better. Steals that set ultimate to get themselves into a safe point. And again, last fight was really the story of Zeri actually getting to free fire. This one was a little bit more contested. It wasn't as if they weren't doing damage. That's why, of course, a couple of targets do go down. But you can see how Zeri is becoming quite a focal point of these fights.
Absolutely. It's very much a case of both teams keep Zeri alive or assassinate Zeri. And that is what has been the success when these two teams have been fighting in the last couple of engagements. Bifrost, you can get onto Zeri, you can either get her very low or kill her. Hey, job's a good time. If you're on Dusty and you keep Zeri alive for 3, 4, 5 seconds, hey, job's a
slightly better one. It's not quite a good one because you need to actually keep them alive with a front line able to actually get them doing damage. But speaking of the damage that's going to be dealt, of course, we do have quite high damage coming out of the set. You look at that build, it's the Blade of the Ruin King into the Gore Drinker. And when they've had the big combos, the amount of AD scaling which goes into your combo going into that is actually pretty big in terms of the turnaround. and we have a Medjai's coming out of the Ari. So it's not like it's a Zeri one-person army. You have a decent amount of extra damage following up. The question is, you know, is everyone actually going to be at the same place at the same time to do that? Because it feels like these fights are evolving so quickly and starting so quickly. It's never just a straight, all 5 people there, there's one hook landing into people piling onto it. It's someone's getting caught off at the side of the fight, everyone has to pile in and use their mobility to get to it. And by that point, actually, it's more about who arrives more quickly at that point. So we'll be tracking that a little bit as we go into this game. And for the first time in a little while, we're spreading the map open a little bit, trying to play through the side lanes. Shikari doesn't have too many team members close by. Dusty walking through the bot lane, bot side enemy jungle to see if they can get some vision control and secure the push for Aleph in his own lane. But we have a brief moment of respite.
Yeah, you know, that's always nice. Just an opportunity to collect ourselves, look at the game and go, huh.
That's League of Legends.
We've got a League of Legends game on our hands. But for me, right, let's have a think about what are the next big ideas? What are we going to be seeing from these two teams? We kind of know how they want to fight and we know how they've been playing, which is a bit of internal screaming and unspeakable violence.
It's like, okay, on that note, because you said that, the first half of this is about vision control, because knowing is half the battle. The other half is unspeakable violence. But those are the two sides of it, because you've got, again, see around the top side of that, Bifrost has put down some ping wards. They have a quadrant of the jungle fairly well scattered. Thank you very much, Observers. Look at that. Yeah, they have a good stretch of this map actually covered for. That's accounted for. You know that if there's going to be a weird flank coming in from the set or from FGG or whatever, you got that covered at this point. Dusty tried to do the same thing on the bottom side of the map, but they have lost control of that. That means that Bifrost,
Aleph, Aleph, don't do it. Needs to survive until help arrives. But caught in the ultimatum, knocked up, and comes down. Odie in trouble though with the depth charge. Manages to get some distance down as Viking gets the knock up. Cho'Gath goes down. Shikari is trying to get something going. The teleport's coming through as well. A little bit late from Fury, but will drive through regardless. Looks for the chain, but the re-engage is going to come through from Dusty as well. Both teams kind of want this fight, but Vender's like, no, please, not me. He goes down as Fury secures it. We've seen fights like this before. They've lost the game before for Dusty. Bifrost take another. I don't know how much they can secure, but deja vu.
Deja vu, but the triple kill for the Silas might very well be the final really deciding fight in how Bifrost could get themselves a ticket to European Masters. That felt like a pretty important fight because it was the area of the map which Dusty had been pivoting towards, had been setting up towards, but they just couldn't fight the fight which came to them after that point. They set up the side of the map, they couldn't follow it through. Bifrost walking away with their Baron in this game, and now Dusty in a very dire situation and on the real edge of the precipice here.
I mean, for Fury, that's gotta feel so good. This is a guy who's been so close to European Masters. He tweeted earlier today, he was like, first time's the charm, right? Right? And you know what? Third game might be the charm for them.
And we get to see his impact in this one, because at the start of this fight, so many big cooldowns are used, and then you're waiting for the second cooldowns to come back up, but you don't have the Nautilus ult after that point. Yeah, you've got Charm stopping Camille dashes, that's all well and good, but, you know, if the damage is shut down, and well, I guess we're looking at Aleph on the side lane again.
And you know what, it might just be another kill dunked on back, and it's Shikari this time around.
It's with the help with the mid laner once again, though. Silas 9, 2, and 8, and you know we mentioned so many of those players that had been to European Masters before. Fury wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
One of only 2 or 3 in this entire game which haven't had any representation.
Only player on his team.
Yeah, and even looking at players like Shikari, hasn't been there for a number of years at this point. Only got there in 2019. A lot of these players looking to revisit that next highest level again and seem poised to do so. Dusty staring down again. A dangerous team composition. Again, the gold's not that far out. It's not like they're staring down a soul, but Bifrost are starting to really, really test them in the fights. They're not able to really deal with the longer confrontations now.
Pushing forward, looking to take down objectives. The tower goes down mid as Dusty, they're looking to try and defend, maybe looking to grab themselves and engage. And it's FGG who goes in, but it's onto the Cho'Gath. That's a very big target to go in on. Venza pops the ultimate, gets enough damage down, and they will take down the Cho'Gath. Backline getting some damage, as in the backline. Aleph's there, the shield gets melted, and so does he. The Cataclysm comes through, but Shikari's fine. He's trapping you. And now Dusty are melting away. Vikings down in the backline. Volibear breaks things up. Bifrost have done it. They take down Dusty. It's a clean 3-0, and they're en route to European Masters.
And they're also en route to that rematch.
Oh, yes.
X7, run it back. We had 5 games in that last series. 2 victories for Bifrost in the regular season, looking to be reprised again as they take the Nexus.
That is it. Fury, big sigh of relief. He's finally on the plane. They've looked at the passport and said, yeah, do you know what, this time around, you're allowed. Go on, get through security.
Of course, condolences to Dusty. He had such a magnificent run up to this point, and it is incredibly difficult for them, I'm sure, after having 2 3-0s back to 3 games at the end of the regular season to end things out to 9-game win streak, as we kept saying. But while they had bright sparks, and they did manage to have, again, a commanding lead in Game 2, which they couldn't shut out. I mean, I still think they can walk away from this playoffs run, considering the improvement they showed as a team. If not satisfied, still with something to come out of it and say, you know what, this is something we can build on, and there's still something we can feel pretty good about, even amongst the sadness of losing this series.
And I mean, it's something that I always think about, was sitting at home watching those first playoff rounds, watching Riddle take down JDXL. I was sitting there going, oh, this is going to be we've got a bit of a 2-horse race, isn't it? Because these are the 2 teams that have done it so consistently throughout the season. But Dusty came in and were like, hold my, choose your beverage of choice. I'm going to be a team that's going to do some work. It's exceptionally it's unprofessional.
Someone got their prediction right, didn't they? And it wasn't me.
It's the fact that we don't have to celebrate it because we actually do it more than once a season. I haven't actually. I'm second last currently in predictions. I can't talk. The only person worse than me is Hitbrain. But for me, it's very much a case of, look, Dusty can go away heads held high. Unfortunately, this is probably the last time we can really talk about them because we talked about a lot during the series. Bifrost. We came into the season. Everyone looked at this Bifrost roster and were like, oh,
yeah, looking all right.
Some good players in here, but we're not going to talk anymore about that. We're going to hang it over to our, not desk, our producer said desk, but they're all on chairs over there, and they're going to break things
The analyst lounge space.
The lounge.
Lounge space, I like it.
The lounge is a good place for everybody.
Yeah, baby, let's go!
That's the first fully correct
Okay,
prediction all.
This one was actually perfectly backed up because I mentioned that if Dusty don't pick up the first victory, because they're a momentum-based team, I don't think they can recover. And Bifrost are just too put together to just pick them apart, you know? So, thank you, Bifrost, for breaking my curse.
Even then, right, like, it wasn't like Dusty didn't come to play at all. They had moments in all of those games where, actually, honestly, they could have taken firm control of them. But the mid-game team fights from Bifrost were just better every game.
It's really hard to deal with the team that never gets the first blood, never gets the lead in the early game, also gets always the mid-game. They're really cautious with that.
If you take the dub, you take the dub.
You take the dub. That's a team that you're playing in solo queue. You're like, okay, we're 0-7, we're going to lose, and there's someone like, chill, man.
Right.
I got you.
I mean, look back to the middle of the split. We were talking about Bifrost, oh man, coming back in the late game so, but the early game's a bit sloppy. It's not quite as bad as that, but there's still those hints of, we've seen this for a while. We know they've got that clutch factor, that ability to play out late game scenarios pretty damn well. Didn't go to an Elder Dragon this time, but go back a few weeks and remember that. That was a pretty common thing for this team.
And I think we have C-Boy ready for us to start these interviews and to understand what happened. Where is C-Boy? Hello, C-Boy. There you go. That smile.
EU Masters, baby. Let's go.
EU Masters, how are you feeling?
It feels great. This is what we worked for the whole split. And yeah, it feels wonderful to be in EU Masters.
Okay, it was a 3-0. It was a clean one. But before we jumped into the game, were you nervous? Were you like, I mean, Viking is strong. Their early game is really strong. Or were you confident on the team stats that you never get the first blood, you never get the early game, but the late game is always yours?
I think we were, I wouldn't say nervous. I think we respected them. Like, they played really good in playoffs. And also in all 3 games, right? They're playing really good in the early game. I think we tried to match them early and it didn't quite work, but we just tried to take the tempo out of the game, and it felt like they weren't sure on what to do. So even though early games looked bad, mid games we felt really confident. We had some whoopsies once in a while, but yeah, we pulled it through.
Yeah, I wanted to ask actually, some of those early game plays where Viking kind of invaded on you a couple of times, particularly in the first game around the red buff. what was kind of going on. I did kind of have to ask. It was a little bit messy, man. Come on, what happened there?
Okay, we had an idea that he was gonna invade.
Sure.
We had the ward on the ramp. I didn't expect him to come from the tribush, and I'm not gonna use it as an excuse, but I'm a bit sick. So when he came, I was like, in my mind, I was not sure if I should flash a ward hop. So I placed my ward. I didn't use W, and then I flashed.
Oh no!
And it looked really awkward, but I just missed the timing. I thought I could take Raptors and Red, because I knew he would come. It was either they go for me or they go for top dive. And I just thought I could do Raptors first, and it was a bit greedy by me. I should just do Red, and then I covered the top dive.
Well, thank you for answering. I'm sorry for thrring you under the bus like that, but I really did want to know.
Okay, I'm going to take you from under the bus and put you in the bus with the rest of your team.
Off to you.
Because I feel like every single lane actually smurfed. I personally think that you guys have the best bot lane in the NLC in particular, but your solo lanes are so strong. So how important is it for you as a jungler, even when you have a mishap, even when something goes wrong, to just have these guys bail you out?
I mean, it feels a bit nice to play jungle in this team because I have like usually 3 running lanes, and like my job, like I think it was in game 3 when I went top and I got dove. I was like, well, they killed me, they didn't kill you. I guess it's fine for your lane. And then like 20 seconds later, he died too, so it wasn't fine. But like I feel like my job is just to make sure my laners are not dying to the jungle ganks. Like we often just try to match the enemy jungler, and then by default our laners will just slowly get us a lead, and then mid-late game is just where we are most comfortable.
Just to wrap it up, C-Boy, and to get you prepared for finals, it seemed like the mid game, especially the third one, I would say, it seemed like you had way too much ketchup on potatoes. It seems a little bit sloppy, I would say. Are you feeling comfortable for the matchup versus X7?
I mean, I think, yeah, our mid game is a bit sloppy. I think we were maybe a bit too confident in going for like, it's fine, we cannot die on mid lane. And then we actually like, because we already made the game plan that they cannot match us on side. So all we need to do is just not die mid, not die mid. And that's what we keep saying all the time. And then the 3 of us in mid were saying, no, we're fine, we cannot die mid. And then we try to look for something, and then that's where it usually goes wrong. We're usually, like, when we play 1-3-1, that's where I say it's usually here it goes bad. So, but we have gotten a lot better than before. But there's still some whoopsies there once in a while.
Let's see what happens. You have an entire week until that matchup. Congratulations on getting into EU Masters, and obviously to try and get the revenge from X7. So congratulations, man. You deserve this.
Let's go.
Woo. The curse is broken, Trouble. You got it. There you go. I love that happy face. That is a good happy face.
Well, Bifrost said, good teams don't get cursed. So.
She's violent today. She woke up without sleeping.
I woke up and chose violence.
You woke up after like not a lot of sleep. You said you were like no sleep gang. Maybe that's the reason there's violence. Like you don't really, like, there's a little bit of the tired anger coming through here.
Okay, we had a conversation with Bifrost. We need to understand now from Dusty's side. Obviously, it's the last interview for the entire split for Dusty. They did an amazing run, I would say. Broke expectations as well. They brought in a lot of early aggression. Nobody expected the 3-0 back-to-back on the playoffs. I don't know if Zen is already ready for us to talk for the interview. I know Zen will be available for us for his last interview of the split. But we gotta commemorate the Dusty effect as well.
Hugely so. Like we knew they were improving through the split. We could see it with the kind of discoordinated, slight lack of synergy between players earlier on in the split. But then the growth of FGG alongside Viking as a pairing, going through Backland, coming back to form, Venz's glow up in the second half of the split, and then coming into playoffs and leveling up again. So good to see. Of course, they couldn't quite make it work today, but serious credit to them.
There we go. I think Zen is ready for us at this point after the series versus Bifrost. There you go. Hello, Zen. Obviously, in a different mood today after this series. I mean, Dusty started really good against all games. Like all games, you guys started really good. It didn't just happen. Can you tell me, can you explain to me what happened after getting the early lead?
Yeah, so the series started off about how we expected it, right? So we got the early advantage in the first game. We weren't quite able to translate it to a mid-game advantage from there. And the mid-game then kind of slowed down. And it slowed down more, and then it slowed down even more, and then the mid-game was really slow, and it's not usually how we play. Usually we like to play like quite quickly from early to mid. Obviously, we got a lead, but contrary to how we usually play with a lead, we played slower. And I think after game one, once we lost, the momentum shifted a little bit. I think the energy maybe going into second game, the players were completely fine. Maybe when you're 0-1 down, it still has a small bit of an impact on you. But then it showed, right, that our mid games weren't exactly how we usually play it, right? Sometimes our mid games are a little bit slow even when we have the lead. But this time, like the mid games were extraordinarily slow, right? We're doing a lot of individual mistakes as well. And this two combinations game like stalled out into late game a little bit, and not having secure lead. We got a little, maybe, I mean, not exactly sure if we panicked a little bit, but it definitely felt a bit more awkward to play for sure. So even though, like for example, in the last game, we still played really aggressively. We weren't afraid to take risks. We were doing a lot of top lane dives where maybe some teams wouldn't do them because it's you're 0-2 down. If you make one mistake on a dive, it's over. But we still played with confidence there, and we got the early lead. But then just again, right, the transition mid game was like a little bit messy. We weren't all fully there. And at least after we talked to the players, right, the energy towards like game 2, game 3 wasn't exactly how we normally play, how we normally feel about the game. So I think that had a lot to do with today.
I would like to, first of all, obviously congratulate you, Zen, and also the team for literally getting one step right before EU Masters and falling to the final boss, unfortunately, because traditionally, like Dusty on the NLC has not even qualified for playoffs. They were literally, battling for relegations, and you picked up a team, you picked up new members that are playing together for the first time, you put them together, you went through the ups and downs that you have mentioned previously. I want you to tell me, like, how proud you are of this team and how far they've come.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think after the start of the split, like I mentioned, right, it was very unfortunate, right? Like the mentality was down, the gameplay was not good. We were just in a big slump, and I'm really proud of how everybody managed to recover. Right, we had a couple of really tough weeks, and I've been on teams and I've seen teams implode completely from a month or a month and a half of just an absolute disaster. But this team came back, right? Like the players put in the work. For example, into this playoff series as well, we were confident going into the series that we would win, but we weren't overconfident, right? We did the regular preparation, everybody was taking it as seriously as everything else, and Bifrost showed up today, right? Like they played really well, and we played poorly. Maybe, again, a little bit of that effect, right? When you catch us on a good day, we beat everybody. When you catch us on a bad day, then we kind of lose to ourselves a little bit. Not to discount Bifrost, they played really well. And I think today was one of those days where we definitely played with different energy than we normally do. So, but still, again, throughout the course of the split, right, from the very beginning to now, like the guys really, with the start that we had, the guys really showed up to salvage the split basically. And in the end, we still ended up going at the top of the standings. We couldn't quite clinch it for EU Masters, but still, I'm proud of the guys. They put in the effort, they put in the work. And I wish all of us and the players the best futures for the future.
Well, all I heard and all I understood is that I think all the other NLC teams need to look out for Dusty come summer.
Yep. There's no more questions then. You answered everything you could, and you brought in the work that everyone should be proud, including you. As Treble pointed out, it's not easy, and what you've done throughout this entire split was nothing short than just an amazing job as a coach.
Real quickly, the league from me to you, Zen, or you're my MVP coach of the split.
So,
thank you. But it's all my players. They put in the hard work. They learn. They get better. They're the ones that are playing the game. So a coach adds a little bit, but it's the players that deserve the ultimate credit.
The team deserves it. You guys did an amazing job. Congratulations, man. And I'll see you in Summer Split.
Thank you very much, and good luck to Bifrost.
See you around, Dust Cowboys.
Finals and EU Masters.
See you, man. Always a pleasure. He's really nice. He's really nice, really calm as well, really humble as well. I mean, that's a lot in the coach. That's a lot.
Right? So difficult to do interviews after losses like that. It's hard to come in when you're after a really disappointing loss, when you're a step away from your Masters, when you have been playing so well, to come in and give an interview like that, where you're still pretty honest, but you're actually still trying to be positive considering where things ended up. Really impressive stuff, and I give serious credit over to a coach or a player or whoever who can come into a situation like that and offer insight like that at a time when it is so challenging.
So Dusty falls short on the last step, which means let's look at the bracket and understand where we are.
Oh, it's time to go again!
Masters, it's X7 Bifrost. Whoever takes the first one will jump straight up into stage. The second one will have to fight for playoffs, but this means next Wednesday we'll have a best of 5 again between these two guys. And if you look throughout the entire bracket, there's only one of these series that brought in 5 games. It was Bifrost, X7.
Oh, it's gonna be a banger!
It's a rematch. And when we were talking with Bifrost, they told us, we fixed what X7 exploited. We know how to deal with X7. So I believe it's going to be a 3-2 again.
But you think of Bifrost?
I don't know.
Ooh, I think it's still going to be X7.
All I know is that if X7 takes it, I want like a Sing interview where he meows.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's make it happen. Sing,
Let's
you heard
make this happen. We need this. We need Kassim
Yeah.
meowing. With the
with the hands.
With the paws as well. Okay, there we go. She brings the content. Okay, but also we should look into the play that defined the day today. The prices play of the day, but MasterCard.
Is it the Baron?
Let's see. I have no idea.
Is it the Baron TP cancel?
I don't know. Let's. Oh no. Let's see what the production decided. That cannot be the play.
Okay,
not,
but it's fine.
Okay.
I will have, actually, Venice, this was a phenomenal turnaround with that cage and the Meganar. Fantastic turnaround. Because remember, at this point, Dusty were actually pretty ahead at this point in the game.
Yeah, but then again, you run into the problem of having to play Akali, I think plus Ari, I can't see from the far away. Akali plus Ari into Veiga. And it just becomes like really difficult. And again, your setup is just not there. You've got 2 members running from the top side, another 3 dashing through the Baron bait. It just doesn't make your team fights very easy.
It was an outstanding performance as well from Bifrost, taking 3-0 versus a team who had 9 winning streak games.
That's pretty impressive,
actually. That is a lot. That is a lot. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else to wrap up the day for you two. Are you guys excited for finals?
Prepare yourselves for next Wednesday. Set the date aside, have a massage the day before, get in all your food, get in all your drinks, get your friends around, tune in nice and early, prepare yourself for an utter banger, because last series was unreal. You know both teams wanted to be cleaner next time, but it's just going to end up being messier. I am so ready.
I'm going to grab you from the present, and I'm going to put you in the future. Prepare for EU Masters. Because X7 and Bifrost might do what Fnatic and Excel could not.
Oh boy, okay, the call has been made, and for today we're gonna wrap it up for NLC. I'll see you next Wednesday, and don't you leave that spot, because after this we have a post-show with Riddle, so we're gonna send it over to them. But for you, you are amazing, keep shining. I'll see you next Wednesday. It's NLC, baby!
EU Masters